welcome back everyone to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan here. For today, what can I say? We haven't even started yet, and I'm already speechless. We have the incredible, amazing, badass Codie, incredible, amazing, badass Meghan. How are you guys?
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Love it. I love it. What better way, right, to start an epic, fantastic, super badass week to be chatting with someone, with you two guys. It's incredible. I love it. Now, before we start, I do want to thank those who are tuning in. If you're new to the channel, well, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow, helps a lot. But most important, in the description below, you're going to find all of Codie and Meghan social media. Let's follow them. Let's make the fire. Hashtag Team Meghan, hashtag Team Codie. Now, without further more, let's jump in here. Right. So for this, for today, it's a total different topic here, right? Like the main topic here is how you guys think the whole acting and entertainment industry would be in the next, 5 to 10 years, right? Now, that being said, I will start out with the first question, which is, with the rise of streaming platforms and on-demand content, tell me, how do you foresee the future of traditional cinema over the next 10 years? Who goes first?
Codie, are you jumping to get ahead of this question, or do you want me to take it?
You go for it, Meghan. You can go for it. You seem ready there.
I don't know. What a question. First of all, Dan, thanks so much for this giant whopper you just threw at us. And I'm sure Codie's more of an expert on all of this than I am. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants most of the time. The one thing I think, we've already started to see, it's sort of this erosion from the acting perspective, it's sort of the erosion of this dream of, back in the good old days, I guess, actors would work tirelessly and work really hard and not get paid. And sort of the dream was that one day they would get their, spot on Friends or Seinfeld or the show that would kind of come in and rescue them and make all of their hours of endless work for free kind of make sense, because it's a big payoff. It's a big payday. And I think something about this, your question, Dan, which is, there's all these platforms, there's all of this content where we're inundated with content, we're overwhelmed with content, which also means as an audience, we're overwhelmed with selection, which also means you can see where I'm going here. The big payday is getting further and further away, because the whole industry becomes a little more pedestrian. Everyone can kind of make a show right now. There's you see it in commercial buyouts, everything's getting smaller and smaller, because it's just the pool is becoming so much more exponential. Does that make sense to you, Codie?
Yeah, I get what you're saying there for sure, because I have grown up with social media. I grew up with not, and then I kind of am in that era where it's it's evolved so much for my generation, and I'm seeing so many people on there my age bracket, maybe a little younger, utilizing it, which is amazing to see, because I can see so many people who understand it and who are using it to also put themselves out there and build a network in a way as well, because that is something that I've realized in the industry you kind of need to do, is you're networking yourself as well as putting your craft to work every day. You're working hard in your classes and all that stuff and learning, but at the same time, a lot of it is to do with networking yourself, and people are utilizing now social media so much for that. On TikTok, when I see so many acting POVs, which is amazing, I've done that myself, and it's just really fun, I think, also as an outlet, because not every day we are working in this industry, and there's times where we have those break periods, and I see so many people getting creative on these social media platforms like TikTok, like YouTube, and they're using their time in between maybe shooting to just give themselves an opportunity to also stay creative and at work. So I can see both ends of it, just kind of in one way working so amazingly for a lot of younger people coming up in the generation and in the industry, and then also I can see it as another perspective, in the sense that you said there how it's so much options out there now, and it's harder just to get that break in the same way, because you're just waiting for your shot. But yeah, it's definitely ever changing and evolving, and I have no idea how much more it can grow, and I feel like it can. So it's crazy.
I think, like, to speak to what you just said, I think it goes both ways, right? And I think what you just said is so interesting because these platforms, it really demystifies the whole thing. Whereas it used to be this kind of mysterious industry. Now we can kind of talk about it, like even what Dan does. We're here, we're talking about it, the way that the industry works. And the same thing with like this oversaturation. It's like that's a great thing because there's lots of work. It just sort of changes the dynamic of the industry and sort of the way I think we as actors have to reframe our own, what we ask for in terms of like just the standards of treatment, because it is just like it's a different landscape than it was.
Yeah, no, that is very true itself. And I'm still like pretty new to it all too. So I feel like in some ways it's helped me, like you said, getting to learn a bit more about the industry, which was more closed off beforehand. I'm at least getting to like see what goes on behind the scenes, learning about it. And in that way it is really cool. But yeah, it's also just made it like I feel like not overly hard, but there's just so many people out there and that they're just pursuing this as well. And I'm like, wow, like fair play, like you're so creative and it's fun to watch that. But yeah, it is hard then because you're like, there's so many people now in this industry that can make the work in different forms. Like, how people on here are editing their own videos, also acting in it and doing creative stuff. And I'm like, wow, here we go. Like it's just the beginning of like something different, but changing, yeah, a little bit of like the industry itself too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. It it's whole crazy. I mean, there's like streaming platform for everything now. I mean, we have Netflix, we have
Yeah.
Disney, HBO, Tubi, Hulu, Lionsgate, Star Plus. I mean, you name it. And like the other day, I was checking, my finances, and it turns out that I'm paying more from streaming services than as I did back then with the whole cable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I
Yeah.
don't think I've had normal TV in like I don't think I like have normal TV channels in years. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know the last time I've sat and like flicked through a TV guide, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Like,
something I do whenever we go to a hotel. I like to sit in front of the TV and flip the channels because I'm like, oh, this is so funny. Like we just don't do that in real life anymore.
true.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, if you want to watch a certain, I don't know, sports event, you need to hire a streaming platform. If you want to watch a
Yeah.
specific movie, and you know what? Yeah, I do like somehow miss those days too. Like whenever you will sit on TV and just check on the channels, check the TV guide, like, oh, this is coming next. I mean, I think that was fun, and now, as you mentioned, the fact like there is too much. I mean, there's a point in which you don't know what else. I mean, you don't know what to watch anymore because there's so much, but at the same time you are getting like behind of it. But that's because it's yeah, we're getting overwhelmed for sure. But it's yeah,
There's so much. It's like,
yeah.
and it's great on one hand, the diversification. It means that more voices are getting amplified and more stories are able to get told. Back in the day when it was like there were three networks and you had
Mhm.
to like go through the same gatekeepers all the time, it's like, there's something lost in that we don't have the same water cooler culture. Like we can't all be like, hey, I'm watching X, did you see that finale last night? And it's like this sort of thing that connects community. We don't really have that anymore, but I suppose that's like on the internet now.
Mhm.
Uh, but again, it's like it's so saturated. It's like, I mean, you've probably had this experience, Cody, where you're like in a room full of actors. It's like, oh yeah, well, I just worked on this. It's playing on. Do you have Hulu? Oh no, oh you don't know that show. And it's like it used to be you'd say I'm on this show, and people are like, oh great, and now it's like they're like, oh I've never heard of it. How can I watch
oh,
it?
and yeah, that's so true. But actually, one thing I miss is like the wait between the episodes coming out.
Mhm.
I feel
Mhm.
Yeah.
like sometimes now when they all just come out at the one time, you just binge watch it and then
Right.
it's like, okay, where do I go from here? And I do love that like anticipation because for me, I'm someone that, wants to see what happens. And I like the kind of build up week to week when they give you that break because then you're like waiting to go back and watch
Mhm.
it. And I think that's something I do miss with like certain streaming services because some shows will do that. I think on Prime, there's a couple that'll do like week episodes coming out like airing, but then like on Netflix a lot of them are just like, okay, here's 10 episodes, go
Mhm.
watch it. And I'm like, oh, sounds good, I'll spend my whole Saturday just sitting here then.
Yeah.
Totally. And then you lose the kind of, that week that you might wait between episodes. You're thinking about it and it's thinking in. And I'm a writer too. So I think about that when I write episodic television. It's like, yeah, as much as it would be great to be picked up by a streamer that just threw it all down. I think I'd rather have it be that week to week, so you get to really like build and you know, cement those characters.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's true.
absolutely. You know, I hate, well, yeah, I kind of, yeah, it's, yeah, I kind of hate TV shows now because it's true. I mean, they will release like everything at once. Another type of guy that if I like the show, I get hooked and then I want to watch everything. And the problem is that what that happens, I will end up watching like the whole first season at once, and then once I watch it, I'm like, okay, what's next? You know what I mean? Like there is like that feeling, like that, like, oh, I need to be at home at, I don't know, at 7 p.m. because like the next episode is like releasing. I think Disney Plus do that sometimes with their shows, that they will be like releasing it weekly, which is kind of fun. But like when they release all at once, I get hooked, and then that's a problem because it's like for the rest of the day you can't find me because I'm just watching the whole first season, and when the second season arrives, I'm like, okay, I need to watch again, like So
Yeah.
I do kind of miss also like those type, or like for example, I don't know if you guys did, but back when The Walking Dead was on Fox, I remember that me and my friends, we will gather like every now and then so we can watch like the season finale, so we will all gather and to watch it, and I think that is missing because I mean you have everything on streaming platform, and then you could be like, if I don't watch it right now, I can watch it tomorrow, no problem. As is back then, you will need it to, if you don't watch it that day, you will need it to wait either for next week if they can repeat it somehow, or for the next month, like something like that. So it was like that
Yeah.
sense of I need to gather everyone so we can all watch it. So yeah.
Totally. It's like the culture now is more, it's almost like it's feeding into this addictive culture that we have, which it's like you'll become obsessed with it. You'll watch it all the way through. And then, if you ask me right now what did I binge 2 months ago? I'm like, what? I have no idea, because it's like a
Mhm.
flash in the pan. And so it kind of loses its importance also, in a sense, because it's all just so fast.
Mhm.
True. And like you said, Dan, you kind of, once the second season comes out, it's like, oh, well, what happened in the first season again? And you're almost wanting to like recap it and watch it again just to like remember, because it has been like so long since it first came out.
Mhm.
At least if it was weekly, it would give it like a certain time frame. And then by the time the second season, you'd be like, okay, now I kind of remember bits of it, especially even the ending of that first season. It's like, okay, so that was how it left. Here's how it's going to start again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Now, how do you think advancements in technology, like deepfake AI and virtual reality, will
Mhm.
influence the acting profession?
Yeah, I think, it's definitely something I've seen a lot more. Like I even do like social media myself, and I see so many platforms now being like, use this one, create a digital online product by just asking AI. And I'm like, okay, but like what happened to creativity? Like
Mhm.
allowing people to express themselves. And I think that's something, as much as AI, yes, it is really good if you're looking for a fast kind of thing to be done there and then, great. But if you want to just let yourself be creative, and that for me, like it's my outlet, is just getting to do stuff on my computer, design certain products, go to acting class. When you're taking that away from people, it's just cutting back on jobs, I feel like, for certain things. It's not allowing people to have their own creative like outlet and expression. So yeah, it's a big one. I don't know, Megan, what do you feel like on that one?
Well, I'm in LA right now with a girlfriend I audition in Canada. She auditions here. She just had a commercial audition where they were offering for these people's images in perpetuity, meaning forever. I believe that buyout was something like $800. And like, that's insane. So
No.
no, and so this brings up a very interesting conversation, I think, about, they're doing this a lot with extras. You used to, when I first started in the industry, I worked as a background person, which, is really boring and all of that. But at the end of the day, I learned how to be on a set. I learned all the moving parts. If you're really interested, you can watch. And so that's a whole industry that's in real trouble right now, because bottom line, they're going to save so much money by using AI versus actual human bodies. And so people who sell their images in perpetuity, then they can be in any of these movies. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a really simplistic way of describing it, but it's an interesting thing that's lost, because I get it in terms of the business end of things. It's like you want to save money, but Codie, to your point, it's like we're all in this industry because we love doing the work. and the AI is kind of threatening our jobs and saying, oh no, well, you don't have to do this part of it, don't worry, you don't have to do this. And it's like, wait, I want to, like, I'm here because I want to. I don't mind going on a plane and going to a new city and going on a new set. Like, I understand that that might save you some money as the production, as the studio, whatever. But it's like, there's something really lost in it for our art and for our craft and for actors coming together and getting to act off of each other and not act, you know, next to nothing just so that they can fill it in with AI. Like, it's very it's a very, I think it's a scary time for a lot of industries with AI. Like, as a writer too, I think about this, you know, they're starting to write scripts and other things with AI, and it's pretty smart, but it's certainly not, you know, at least from what I know at this point, it's like not able to do what I'm able to do, but it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, that's true. But I do think, yeah, like you said, it's been able to do stuff, but where is allowing someone's personality come through in it? You know,
Yeah.
it's something that when you're creating, you always want to add your little like stamp to it, you
Yeah.
know. That's something I just don't know if they'll ever be able to do because it's not a person, you know.
Humanity.
Exactly, yeah. We all have our little quirks and our intentions that we bring out in our work, and it's just how will AI ever do that? I don't think it would. So,
I
yeah.
think you're right. And I think that is the saving grace. And when you think about, like, okay, AI can do a lot for a lot of industries. The thing is that our art deals in humanity, in emotion, in specificity of experience. And so that is where I don't think a computer can, like, you know, I mean, it can mimic a lot of things, but it can't, I don't know that it can be alive in the way that you, Codie, or any of us can be. So
Right.
that's the saving grace.
Yeah, I agree there. Yeah, it's so true. Like the raw emotion of humanity. And that's what's so beautiful when you're watching something on TV, when you look at a scene and you can just see that that person is so in it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
how can you ever recreate that with just like online work and AI? I don't feel like you could, but
Yeah. And like the surprises, like, you know, it doesn't always look the way you think it's going to look. You can be having the most devastating moment of your life and suddenly you can't do anything but laugh, and it's like comes out of nowhere. But it's like, you know, I don't think AI like has the sort of depth of humanity and understanding to like be able to deliver those kinds of, you know, these rich, complex moments that we all have experienced, right?
yeah, no, so true.
Not yet, anyway. I'm sure the computer is going to be so advanced beyond all of us and giving performances that we're like, oh my God, did you see?
That's it. We just don't know either too. Like everything's always evolving, but at the moment I'm just like I'd rather go there and do it myself. Like you said, it's part of the love that we have for this industry, hopping on planes, going here, doing the work,
Yeah.
on connecting with friends. And so I'm like, no, I'll stick to doing it right now.
I guess I'm interested too at, like, at what point does it become an ethical dilemma? Like, it's like, okay, maybe we have this technology, maybe it could write a script that's way better than my script. I don't think so, but maybe. um, and in that world, where do we sort of draw the line and say, okay, but ethically, like, this is not what we want. We don't want to rob humans of having these experiences of getting to create and getting to like add to the story. Like, so I think it's like it needs to be what's the word I'm looking for, like governed. It needs to be like,
yeah, like assessed and really like put
yes,
set rules.
regimented.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean with that. Yeah, it's very true. Oh, I feel
Yeah.
like we'll tell.
Yeah. Or like, what do you guys think that if at some point an AI can do like the whole casting, for example, let's say you go for an audition, right? And there will be like this AI program just waiting. Once you're there, determine on all of your performances, social media and everything, will get like an estimate exactly on the type of role you should get. And then it will drop you like, you know what, this is like the right role, like the right type for you. This is for you. Don't search for anything else. Boom. I think that I mean, I think we're heading like at some point into that even an AI will determine like all those type of decisions, you know, and perhaps you'll be like, no, I can do more stuff, and AI will be like, no, you can't.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel like
Well,
really fair in a way because people are so complex. Like the roles that lots of actors have done, and they're all different, you know. Some are comedies, some are really intense thrillers, dramas. It's not fair to just sit there and like allow a computer to put you in a box. I'm like, no, everyone in this industry, the greatest work comes from thinking outside that box, you know, being able to go to extremes that you don't do in your daily life. And for AI to say, well, no, just because this is how you look and I see your social media, this is where you fit into. I'm like, no, but that's just because that's what you're seeing in my day-to-day life. I, as an actress, can go to so much more depth. And I feel like that wouldn't be very fair, because in a room, when you're doing an audition, you can go to all extremes and you can let go of like being Codie and jump into that character. If it's an Amy, if it's Beth, if she has this problem, that little attribute to her, I'm like, it's, you need to have that room to just go and express and give it your best and not be just boxed in.
I totally agree with everything you just said. And I'm going to just add to it, which is like, the things we don't see in this industry are so powerful. One of them is the power of great casting and a great casting director, which is a director. It's a human person and often a team who really, you know, so much success of a project depends on the casting and getting that right cocktail and that alchemy of people bouncing off of each other. And that is such a human job. That has to do with them spending time with you in a room, knowing how you enter a room, knowing how your energy affects another person's energy. And when that's done well, we don't even think about the casting directors, but man, they are such. I was just talking to my friend about this. We were watching all the award shows and we are like, they should definitely have casting directors winning, like, and I'm sure they do, but on the televised events, like I think these casting directors should be just as celebrated as, you know, almost the directors of the piece, because it is such an art. And I think that's maybe the crux there, which is art versus science. I think the AI, you know, of course we can look at people's profiles and we can scan their whatever, but the art of actually like creating chemistry, creating like alchemy, and it's really people, it's something that when done well goes invisible. And so I think just like want to take a minute to shout out the casting directors and the beautiful work that like they do to put these amazing pieces together.
Yeah, oh, that's very true, actually, because casting see the potential in a person as well. You know, you
Yes.
go into the room and sometimes it doesn't go the way you expect it to, but they still might just see that little spark to be like, "Do you know what? I see that in her. I see it for the role. We're going to give her a chance." And, you know, I don't think, like you said, science can really do that, because people are so complex and have so much to them that how can a screen or AI just like read you and be like, okay, this is what you can do? I'm like, oh, casting, look at people and see what they can give and see that they have this potential. And yeah, like you said, shout out to them, because so many shows and stuff you watch and how they are so well casted. It's like you just can't picture anyone else in there playing that role. It's just like that is to perfection.
Yeah, it's a magic. It's a magical skill.
Yeah.
And let's also add stunt coordinators and intimacy coordinators as well.
Yeah, honestly, all of crew, I feel like it's just,
Yeah.
if you look at design crew, you know, how would AI just sit there and say, okay, this is how this bedroom's supposed to look, or this set's supposed to look? You know, the design crew too also have their little quirks that they're putting into it and their little like stamps, because like my friend, she's a set dresser and I love watching her work. And when she's telling me about like shows that she's like really excited to create for, you know, that's the whole point of this like process, is like allowing your personality to come through on this set with your team and being like, okay guys, what can we do today? And not just having an system be like, all right, this is how this is supposed to be done. And it's, you know, it's giving people their creativity, like I said, and that's just what we all live for, I think.
And I'd like to believe we are in a really human profession, which is, so like we were talking about, it is about human beings, it is about connection, and all of these little pieces like you're talking about, Codie, that is like a piece of a human. When you see a book that's been distressed, or like they've thought about like, well, if this person's a smoker, there's going to be, you know, those little touches that like these artists put into every corner of every frame we see and we take for granted because it works. Again, these are the people we don't see. If they do their job well, we don't see them, right?
So
And
true.
it's like it is, I do think, and I hope that at the end of the day, because we are telling human stories to humans, that we need to respect that human element that goes into all these pieces.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it. Love the answer. And yes, I do think, you know what, that at some point, I mean, of course, that they're got, you know, like the big companies are gonna be using AI, but I think that at some point people are gonna be wanting the human side, you know, that sense of like, what's the word here, of
Like organic.
yeah, like organic, and also the fact that, for example, when you see a film, TV show that is written by a person, sometimes you can relate to that, you know, be like, you know what, I truly relate to that. But if you find out that it's created by an AI, you will be like, okay, yeah, it was good, but meh. You know what I mean? So I think that at some point that would be like the breaking point for people to be like, you know what, it's great, the AI is good, but we want the human side. You know, we want those mistakes that sometimes happen every now and then. You know, we want them because it's what makes it fun, what makes it relatable, what makes it like pretty interesting, you know? Because I mean, with an AI, yeah, you get the results, but you know what? Like that sense of accomplishment gets removed when you use an AI, for example. You know, I mean, I've been like using it, you know, just like for the fuss of it, and it tends to remove that feeling of yes, you know, like I actually got something, because you're like, okay, so the AI can create like everything now for me in less than a second, you know. So I do think that that at some point will be like the breaking point. Yeah, like the whole breaking point for people to be like, you know what, we want the human side again, and especially like in acting, music, you know, that feelings are involved, are like way too involved in that, and an AI can't, at least to me, can't make me feel something, you know, because it's not kind of real somehow, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, true.
I think we've all seen these movies too, like, and I'm not going to throw shade at anyone in particular, but you'll know what I'm talking about, where it's like they're following a formula and it's like hitting, you know, it's like check marks here. We got the you know, the big battle scene or whatever. I mean, there's these formulaic things, and I think we're all getting a little burnt out on that in general. But it's like when you see something that kind of, you know, because of the formulaicism of it, is that a word? But because it's sort of for today, it is. You know, you do, like you were saying, Dan, you do kind of go numb. You do kind of stop feeling things. And it's like, okay, I get that this is a spectacular shot. And wow, he's like, you know, riding a sea pony and it's beautiful and whatever. But it's like, what do I actually feel at the end of the day? Does the
Mhm.
story even resonate? Even though it's like, quote unquote, good. And it probably did great at the box office because it's like got all these stars in it or whatever. But it's like, I feel like we are culturally kind of hitting a burnout with that, and we're more interested in like the kind of unique human qualities that take you places you didn't expect to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can, I mean, the fact that they're using AI for extras. The other day I was checking. I mean, I don't know if this is like 100% accurate, but for the Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson, for the extras he makes sure that they were actually fans of it. You know, that at least they read some of the books, and that was pretty cool because then you will see the extra actually putting like a lot of effort to it. You know, and with an
Yeah.
AI, I mean, you could put extras to it, but you know what I mean? Like, meh. I mean,
Yeah.
I would prefer if they use extras, you know, like real people, because you never know, you know, like, so as I said, like sometimes those like small mistake, like for example on the on the Star Wars films, like on the old ones, that there was actually this scene that that an extra which was dressed as a stormtrooper hit his head, and they just left the shot there. And people was, you know, people make fun of it because he was pretty cool, you know, and now they're, you know, the fact that they want to use AI for extras, you know, it's, I don't know. I think it's boring, you know, like somehow, you know, but
I
Yeah.
do too. And I know I hold like a specific, because that was how I started. So I feel like I'm holding a candle for this. But it's like that is how I learned how to be on a film set. That is the first time I was an extra on White Chicks. Do you remember that movie?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. And so it was like a big party scene. And it was like such a formative moment in my career because I had this great reaction and they were like, her, we want to focus on her. Okay, so let's do that again. And suddenly I was like the star for a second, you know, and I got my I got to be a featured extra, not just an extra, right? And so it was like this moment of like
Yeah.
understanding the business and feeling the effect, the pressure of the camera on you. And it was a moment in time for me to like graduate to the next phase of my career. And so there is something lost in that, let me just say, if that all goes to AI.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
No, it's very true.
Now, with many actors, transitioning to roles behind the camera, such as directors or producers, do you see this trend kind of intensifying in the near future?
Yeah, I definitely do. I feel like every person now that I see, like I said, on all these like social media apps as well, are so great at doing like so many different roles, like creating, editing, acting. And it's really cool to see because we're always just getting to like evolve as like a generation, but also like as our craft evolves, we're getting to learn new skills. And I think that's what's so fun about like the industry itself is all the different skill sets in there and how it takes a whole team to put this amazing production together. And if you are able to be like flexible and do this and do that, it's opening your ability as well and your prospects in like a job. You can be a producer as well as an actor or an actress in some shows. Like I love watching Euphoria and seeing Zendaya, how like she just, oh my god, like that woman just like amazes me every day because she's such a phenomenal actress. And then like her producing and how she's just really grown, and she's also a dancer. I remember watching her like in the Disney days. Like I have such a Disney kid, and watching that, and it's really fun just to see the complex of so many people now just having all these options at their disposal to just try these things, and the industry allowing people to also do that, seeing so many women behind the camera as well producing and directing. I'm like, yeah, there we go. Like we all should have a voice too in the industry and in our sets. We're there to help out and make the best production that we can. So yeah, I think it will eventually just keep growing, and so many people will just be in all kind of aspects of it all. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like you were saying earlier, with the evolution of social media, and you've got these people who are making incredible things on TikTok, and it really just takes like a good idea and someone who has learned or taught themselves how to execute upon that idea. And I think there's something really exciting about that and impressive, and it levels the playing field in a way. It's like if you have a creative idea and you know how to like execute it, you can be sort of seen on this level that used to be kind of not respected. And I think now we're seeing that shift, and we're seeing that people are respecting that because they're understanding that our culture is shifting too. So
Yeah.
I do think it's opening up and leveling the playing field, which is great. For me, like I think I've been a writer alongside being an actor the whole time, and I think that's been such a saving grace in my own acting career, because oftentimes as an actor you can feel really powerless. You are often standing in a room or on the other side of a camera and asking someone else to hire you, asking someone else to give you a job, give you a chance, take a risk on you, your take on the character. And while that's awesome and creative and humbling and all of those things, it can leave you feeling pretty powerless a lot of the time. And so writing and really honing that craft alongside my acting has been just something that's made me feel like I'm taking the power back and sharing my voice, not just my take on somebody else's voice, but sharing my voice, which is, if you can believe it, even more scary sometimes than than acting.
Right there, it's scary. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty vulnerable, but you know what? It's amazing how even in that vulnerability, it feels empowering.
Mhm.
Okay. And do you anticipate a shift in the type of stories and narratives that will be popular or prioritized in the next decade?
Hmm.
Well, I'm already seeing a shift of things that nobody wants to talk about, which is the pandemic. No one wants to see movies or projects based on the pandemic because we're all just like, no.
That was a different life.
Yeah.
I do think though there's shifts in certain things. Like a lot of genres, will stay the same. Your rom-coms and your thrillers and your dramas. I do think there's just a shift now in some of like the perspectives in it. And you see our world changing, and you see people changing as well, and like how we've grown so much, I think, as well in the years. And I do think storylines, they have been more adapted now to today's society as well, and what's going on with people's lives. And that's just what's important, is that, you know, with storytelling, it kind of resonates with today's world as well. And it's nice, like, I don't get me wrong, I love watching like period pieces. I'm sitting there and watching like TV shows back in like, oh god, based back in the 50s, and seeing some of the costumes that they wear, and I'm like, oh my god, can I be in that please? I want to wear one of those dresses. But then it is really cool to just see so many stories being told about today's world, and so many people really resonating with that as well. You know, like you said earlier, nothing feels more amazing than when you're watching a TV show or a film and just being like, I really resonate with that. You know, that really like hones truth to me and what's maybe happening in your life right now, and it could help something that you are struggling with as well. So I think stories will always adapt and change, and they'll adapt to just the world around us and what is being seen and social media and things like that. You see so many like shows now with the kids doing TikTok videos in them as well. You know, the all the phones. I'd be watching some of the old shows with all like the flip phones or the burners, and I'm like, no, it's just all iPhones and all this in there, and all the kids are like in the background doing their TikTok, and it's just like, yeah, there you go.
It's reflective of our times. I think too, it was something about, you know, audiences now, because we are so savvy. We've seen so many things. The types of stories that we're going to be seeing, I think, you know, need to be smart. They need to be able to kind of keep up with their own audiences, and even subvert, like, and sort of take them on. I think it's like hard to surprise an audience these days. So I think we're going to see creativity really, really rise, and start to see some things that maybe step outside the box and the parameters of these formulas we've all become so familiar with, which is, to me, exciting. I'm interested to see new voices and just like savvy storytelling.
Yeah, that would be true. Yeah.
I love it. I just hope that there are no more remakes. That's all I'm
None
gonna
at
say.
all.
Like,
I mean, so there was a time in which they will release a remake, and I'm like, okay, cool. But now they want to make remakes of everything, and I'm like, okay, please stop. You know, like for example, that they're gonna do like a remake on the whole. For example, the Harry Potter films, they want to do it like in a TV show and things like that. And I'm like, no, just please don't. You know, like the films are great, are
yeah.
amazing. Just leave it like that. You know, I mean, if you want to, and like that is the thing here. If you want to keep working on that universe, sure, expand the universe even more. You know what I mean? Like for example, what it did on the Mandalorian on Star Wars. I mean, it was great because he was inside the whole Star Wars universe, but it was a total different, total new story, total new character, total new. You will see cameos here and there from like from like the prequels, things like that, and you'll be like, okay, that is cool. But it was like a like a total new thing. So that is that is what I'm like a little bit like yeah, like desperate about it. I mean, if you want to continue on that universe, sure, create like a new story, and at the same time, you're giving opportunities to new people to come and say, hey, you know what, I can do, I can do this, you know, or things like that, instead of doing like a remake and be like, okay, no, you know what I mean? Like, I would appreciate if they would trying to expand it, you know, and create something new instead of doing something that was already made. It was great, and then redo it again. No, I mean, at least to me, you know, well, as I said, like when I found out about the whole Harry Potter, I was like, you gotta be kidding me, no. You know,
But the,
I grew up with those films, and they
oh yeah.
want to create like a TV show and do like a whole remake of it. Yeah, maybe it's gonna look good, you know, maybe. But at
Yeah.
least to me, it's not gonna have like the same feeling back when I watched those films, you know, things like that. Or, you know, so
I totally agree with you. And the problem is that, you know, these studios are trying to make money. And so when they have existing IP, like something like Harry Potter, that is tried and true, and guess what? That is going to sell X amount of tickets. They can probably predict within the, like, you know, that's not a risk, right? That's a good investment. And so you're going to, I agree with you. I think we're going to keep seeing that though, because it is this, you know, business model, which works for them. But I'm with you. I would much rather see original voices, and like people take chances on shows they've never seen before. And I think we all want that.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, imagine this. You're watching a Harry Potter TV show inside the universe of it, and they're having like this fight scene, and then you see a cameo of Daniel Radcliffe and be like, yo, we'd be like super excited and be like, yo, you know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
like that, like those type of stuff. You can expand the universe inside of it, create it, and yeah, every now and then throw like a cameo on it so people will be like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Because it like the fact that they want to, as you mentioned, the fact that they are just focusing on getting the money and they're doing either remakes or fan service, like things like that. I mean, it's great, but you know what? Take a risk. I mean, we have seen it sometimes that they will take a risk and it works. And if it doesn't work, sure. But at least you are putting on the table something new because because one remake was good, then then everyone is wanna jump on the table and do remakes on everything. And I don't know, but the other day I was seeing. I mean, I hope that it's a joke, that is not real, but that at some point they're gonna do like a remake on Back to the Future. I'm like, no, please don't do that.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I hope that this was like a meme or something fun, because no, just stop with the remakes. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Just come up with some new stuff. I think when
yeah.
remakes are done, sometimes some of them are done very well. Don't get me wrong, they can be done really great. But then it is a risk that you're taking because the original can be just so amazing and have such a big following as it is. And then to remake it and not really come out maybe as great and gain that kind of momentum like the original, it's a big risk as well. So yeah, I'm like, I don't know, maybe come up with some new stuff. And if you're going to take that risk, then you must have some like great cast and you need to kind of have like the whole works ready to go because some of them shows, yeah, like Back to the Future, Harry Potter. I'm like, I don't really know if I would want a remake of that. I like
I
having my childhood remembering Daniel Radcliffe and stuff like, it's just Rupert Grint, like all that. It's just that is what you remember Harry Potter as. So, oh, fun.
yeah. Yeah. Now, how do you think the role of film festivals will evolve, given the increasing accessibility of digital platforms for showcasing new talent?
Well, I feel very passionately about this because I run a film festival. So, I run the Vancouver Horror Show, the VHS, with my partner David, and we showcase horror, not necessarily horror films, but all the films have to have an element of horror from all over the world. With a special focus of Canadian, we want to amplify Canadian voices, but we've shown films from everywhere. And I really believe that, especially now in this sort of oversaturated marketplace we find ourselves in, the film festivals are the places for new voices to break through, and where the barrier to entry is kind of removed a little bit. And it really is, at least for our festival, and I know a lot of other people who run festivals would say the same thing, but um it really is that the material speaks for itself. It's not about having a star attached. It's not about, all these kind of necessarily having a big budget. It's like, if you can make a great film, it will get through and it will get seen and it will get amplified. And so I think right now it's the festivals are really, really important in this landscape.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it gives people up and coming the opportunity to like showcase their talent. It gives more of a platform to like allow people in, like you said, such a wide industry right now, have a space to be like, this is what I created. It doesn't have this person, doesn't have this amount of money, but I created something special. And it's given those people just the opportunity to really just showcase their work. And that is what we want in this industry. We work for the love of just being like, look what I created, guys. Like, how cool is this? And yeah, festivals themselves. I've never actually gone to one. I would love to, but it is really fun to see. A short film I did a couple of years ago, they like entered it into a couple of festivals and they got so many awards. And it was just so beautiful to see such like a short film come together and also then gain like so much momentum at these award shows. I was like, that's just so fun, and these are also student people. Like I did a student short film and I'm like, there you go. Like that's their stepping stone as well into the industry. And
Totally.
yeah, it's a really good space. And I feel like it just needs to keep going. And I hope that it never changes in that sense.
There's so much talent and there's so many people that make amazing short films, and they just so often don't get seen. They just, or they sit. And so it is like, that's something I feel really passionate about, giving a platform to artists to really showcase them, and not only showcase their work, but introduce them to each other and create community. And, we've had many times where it's like people have met through our festival, and then the project they submit to us the next year is them working together. And it's so exciting to see that growth and to build that community. And just truly, every year, we're going into our 7th year this year, I'm just so blown away with the talent that we see come through. It's like people make amazing films, and it's awesome to get to provide that platform and to shine a light on them.
That's so cool. Well done to you guys for that as well. 7 years, that's really cool.
Yeah, you got to come out. That can be your first film festival.
Love to. That's great. And I love horrors, actually. It's like one of my favorite genres. My partner's like, wait, what? Why? And I'm like, I don't know, the thrill. I just love to sit down and watch them and just get like that kind of spookiness, but also being like, ooh, like what way is this gonna go? No, girl, don't go in there. No one go alone. Yeah, horrors are actually, that would be really fun. Thank you.
It's a great genre for new filmmakers, because you can make a horror film on a relatively low budget and you can make it really, really good. And it truly is about having a great idea, and like we were talking earlier, idea and execution. And if you can do those two things, there really is a low barrier to entry. You just need to be able to show your creativity and your, we showcased a film this past year. It was a bunch of friends that went up to a cabin and made a film during the pandemic, which I feel like everybody wanted to do. But this particular film, it was called Anna Coretta. You should check it out if you can find it. I wish I was ready to plug that a little bit better, but they made the best version of that, because of course at the festival we see all these submissions come in, and there's a lot of you see these themes every year. It's like, oh wow, a lot of people told a story about like a girl with a ribbon around her neck or whatever it is. But clearly post-pandemic there were a lot of these sort of cabin friends at a cabin kind of skeleton crew films, and these guys just knocked it out of the park. And it was so exciting to get to share that with audiences who loved it.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it. Now, how do you feel about the rise of short form content? The ones like what we see on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram too, Will this influence the type of content produced or the length of the films and shows for the future?
I don't know, because I feel like we see films like right now getting longer. Honestly, like you could look back maybe 10, 15 years ago. And yeah, you had your big movies like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, which were like 2.5 hours long. But then majority of most films were like that 90 minutes to kind of 2 hours like length. But now you see so many of them which are hitting like 2 hours, if not longer. And I'm like seeing the films really just kind of wanting to show every aspect of what they're thinking and not just having to hit those big key moments, because sometimes it's nice to see the little lead ups to why something does happen in a film. Like when I watched Oppenheimer there recently, it was intense to watch because there's so many people in it, there's so many voices, but it was also just so beautifully done that it, like from the get-go, I was just like, okay, I need to watch this and not break any sort of like away, because there's just so many people in it, so many stories to tell. And the length of it, as much as people were like, oh, it's so long, I'm like, it's justified though in that length, because you have to tell all these stories for it to just like make sense and for people to understand it. And so I think like with a lot of these shorts, it's great to see because it's allowing people to have like their creativity if they want to make like something on YouTube, like a YouTube short or on TikTok. But then when it comes to actual, I think like the industry with films and TV shows, that's always going to stick to like, having those long films as well as like the TV shows being 45 to 50 minutes long. Because you see a lot of those ones now where they do their oh my God, I cannot get this word out, where it's like a season and it's just like one season. Oh, why can't I say this?
Oh,
Like a limited series?
I couldn't get that word out. Limited, yeah, like limited series that, some of those episodes are an hour long, if not a little bit longer. It's just so that they're getting all the information in there that needs to be put across. And it's justified because then it makes more sense for the whole 10 episodes to come together, I think. As much as I'm sitting there watching a full hour, I'm like, okay, now I got to go do some things because it is long. It's like almost like watching a film. But I don't know. I feel like things are kind of justified in certain ways depending on what you're working on and what you're trying to tell as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think what's exciting and maybe fresh, and I never thought about whether this came from sort of TikTok culture, social media culture or not, but I think we are starting to see, and of course it's because of streaming platforms and the different way that in which we're consuming media, but you are starting to see shows that are written to story versus written to a page count. So it's like, you remember The Bear. I remember in season 1 of The Bear, there's one episode that's like kind of one shot and it's like 15 minutes long or something, and it's like, that's it, that's the end of the episode, and it doesn't need to be a certain length. Other episodes in that same series might be like 40 minutes. It's just like, this is the story and this is how long this particular episode is, which feels so fresh and kind of exciting as a writer, certainly, to be like, okay, you can write to however long this particular story needs to be versus try to, like, fit a window on a network of time slot or whatever. So I do see that changing very, very much right now. And I don't know if it comes from that culture or where it comes from, but it really is exciting, I think, to just think about it differently. Like, a movie doesn't have to be 90 minutes. It can be 3 hours if it's Oppenheimer or Barbie, or it's like warranted to have these moments and this rollout of the concept. It also can be 16 minutes in one shot and so exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Like at the end of the day, it's what's being told, and if it's capturing you enough to like pull you into it, sometimes you don't even realize that like 3 hours have passed, or
Mhm.
those 15 minutes might just feel like a full hour because it's just been so much in that's like captivated you to the point where you're like, oh wow, like that was just amazing all at once and a lot, and you're just thinking about it going away. And yeah, no, I totally agree. It's nice to see that they're taking time to like go through certain moments instead of just having to like have this one, and this one to like tell a story. It's like allow your A kind of point to just be that little bit longer than like the middle section to like really allow the story to unfold if that's what it needs, you know. Sometimes, yeah, there is TV shows that you'll watch and people are like, yeah, like the first season might be a little bit of a, like you just have to get through that to get to the second season, but then the story just unfolds. And that is sometimes the case because the first season's just kind of setting up for then this like bigger picture as well. But yeah,
Mhm.
see.
Okay. Okay. And as global politics and social issues become more intertwined with entertainment, do you see actors taking on more activist roles in the future?
I think they've always been intertwined, honestly, at least in my lifetime. I don't know if they're becoming more intertwined. Maybe we're just more privy to it because of the internet and because of social media. But I think it's an interesting question because it is like, what do we expect of our actors? Do we, on a red carpet, should we be throwing a microphone in their face, asking them about what they think about the crisis in, fill in the blank? And but we do look to these people that we kind of revere to weigh in on certain issues. So I don't know. I've always struggled with that and thought it's an interesting duality of like sort of looking to actors. But I suppose that we are looking at actors, and so it is important what you do with the stage when you're on it. It is important what you shine your light on and how you what you choose to amplify when you have a platform. So I think, yes, ultimately that you will see more actors taking activist roles. I think it's sort of demanded of by our culture.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Like we kind of do with this platform that they have. People look to them sometimes for life advice, guidance on even just like opinions. We do really take into depth what they're saying. And sometimes, yeah, it might work in that person's favor. And I've seen a lot of people get a lot of hate too for what they want to say. And it's up to like, I guess, that person at the time as well to be like, okay, I'm putting my perspective out there. This could go both ways. And that is something that's tough. And it's always going to be tough in this industry because your name can be so like publicized and people are looking at what you do every day. And I think, yeah, it's a tough one because you don't want to upset fans and you don't want to upset your agents with like saying the wrong thing, or like if you're in a production at the time. It's very like complex because yeah, we have so much platforms now where we can also criticize people. Like you see social media really gain that kind of momentum, and it's not, I don't think it's very fun. I don't want to be sitting behind a keyboard, you know, like and saying mean things about someone. We don't know what their life is like every day. We just see it from pictures and what paparazzi's getting. But I think activism in the industry will grow though, because they have this platform and so much social media out there now really gives them that as well to be like, okay, here's my thoughts. And we do look to them for it as well though. I know I do. There's times I'm like waiting to hear what someone says on a certain part of life.
It's interesting though, right? You would never like after a basketball game, you would never like see someone throw a microphone in like Steph Curry's face asking them where they stand on this issue. It's like it's such an it's annoying, frankly, that that is expected of actors to have to kind of do that as well. And I totally understand people that are just like, nope, shutting down. I'm going to do my work over here, and then I want to like not, engage with the rest of it, because that's fair too. It seems to kind of come in the combination of like this. If you're successful in this industry, there's these sort of expectations of you, and yet we would never expect that of someone coming off the football field, right?
Yeah, it's true. There's certain things to it. Like I do feel like we put on a lot of like actors and actresses because they're on our screen. Sometimes we relate to them as their characters. So then we're like, oh, well then
Right.
they think about this problem in the world. And sometimes, they're not that character as well. You have to remember they are whoever they are. Like I'm Codie at the end of the day. So when I come off a screen, like this is who I am. And I studied politics actually as a kid, but trust me, now when it comes to it, I'm like, I have no clue. I would love to be able to say I can talk about this or that, but at the same time, I feel like I'm still learning when I'm reading about it, and it's always changing as well, like people's perspectives and things that are happening. And it is a lot of pressure just to put on people because they're on our screens every day to be like, okay, well, I need to know what you're thinking to figure out what I'm thinking. It's like, well, no,
Mhm.
our job is to be creative.
Yeah. And I think as it relates to, as it relates to a film you're doing, that makes more sense to me. If it's like, if you're commenting on the story that you're telling and your
Yeah.
position on your character, and it's about like that, I understand, but I don't, I feel, I don't know, I feel a little annoyed by this, like this sort of expectation that actors need to fill that role in people's lives as well.
Yeah. Because then if you have a passion for it, then I'm like, yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. If people have that knowledge in the politics section or whatever
Mhm.
it is like that's happening in the world today, then I'm like, yeah, if you can do that and you have a platform, by all means, speak about it and speak up. But I don't, yeah, like you said, feel like you should be putting pressure on people just to do it because they also have a platform. It's people's comfortable places too. Like they want to just maybe create and that's it, and that's fine, and that's just like what we should be allowing them to do because that's also their job and what they've been doing for years. So yeah, it's a tough one. I feel like if you can do it, go for it, and if you don't do it, then we shouldn't be criticizing people for not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also it has to be. I mean, it also includes a whole cancel culture, right? The fact that perhaps an actor or athlete, musician, that maybe they don't say certain stuff or do certain stuff because of the whole cancel culture, so they prefer to stay shut and be like, you know what, as you mentioned, the fact that I just do my job, go home, that's it. So.
Sure.
Totally.
Mhm, mhm. Now, do you anticipate any shifts in how actors are trained or educated for their careers in the future?
I don't know because I feel like I'm still quite new to like the industry in sense of taking classes and that as well. But one thing I feel like I've realized and I've seen a shift in is in certain scenes when you're in a class or you're on set is when you're given so much emotion and it's so raw. allowing someone to have their time after to also just like recuperate back to themselves, because we have to do sometimes a scene over and over again to get the right take. And when you have such a vulnerable scene, it's like just allowing that person, okay, can I just have like 1 minute just to like before I go again? And in class, it's something I see like a lot of teachers adapt in, like, do you need a second before like you go again? And I think it's allowing, people to just make time for themselves, after being a long day on set, if it was a really tough day with like, what scenes you had, to go back and just like have your self-care, like really have that routine set out to allow yourself to just relax. If it's listening to music, having a bath, if you need to just put on a TV show to make you laugh again, I think that's just really important when it comes to the industry. And I feel like it's definitely becoming more of a thing, and people being more aware that that's what they need to do as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, Megan, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think mental health is a big thing that we're kind of coming into more consciousness as a culture anyway, but I think it definitely is something certainly that I was not trained in. Excuse me, I have a bit of truck action. Is that really loud? Are you okay? Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, I think that's definitely something that I hope is going to be more integrated into the training. Another thing I would love to see, and I don't know, and maybe Codie, you can speak to this. I think that actors and theater school and all of that, it's great. What certainly was the case for me, and I think a lot of people that I came up with, is that there's not a lot of training in the business side of acting and
Yeah.
yeah, and I think what I think, and I don't know if I anticipate this shift or if I'm just hoping that it happens, so I'm speaking it out. But I think what would be so useful to actors is to learn about the business, understand when you walk into a casting, who are you talking to, what are the relationships here, and what, it's the really nitty-gritty stuff that no one really teaches you. So there's a big divide between like the training that I got and the world that I entered into and the workforce that I entered into. And so I think and I hope that we'll start to see more of that incorporated into training.
I think it's getting there, because when I started, I completely had like, yeah, no idea of the industry itself. I was a dancer my whole life. I did theater. What I just, yeah, when I moved here with the acting, I didn't really know much about like productions and set. I had not like the knowledge of like terminology used on it. And I did a class that was like, it was called class to camera, I think. And we did at the end of it a whole then production on videoing the scene that we were working on in class. And it was really great because we were allowed to like listen. They brought in a director, they had all the camera work set up, and it was the whole then class decided to be like different parts of the crew, whether it was like first AD, second AD. And we were like doing things like that, like a lighting person, set design. And it was really fun because it just allowed us to see different aspects of what goes on in a set, because I had no idea. And so that class like did really help me and understand like terminology being used and things like that, and what different people are on set and what they do and what they represent. And as well as that, then the student films I've worked on, I just have so much like respect for them, because as much as they're learning their craft, I've always worked on them, and they were always just so great at what they did. They were so helpful. They were very understanding of, that they are maybe like actresses like myself that are very new as well to this scene, and we're on here just trying to create something really special together. And I learned a lot by actually doing that, just like going on to student productions, being an actress, and then volunteering my time as an actress. And it was really cool because I just built my resume on learning that aspect of it all as well. And I'm like, for anyone that is in the industry that's just starting out, I'm like, just get yourself into like some student productions, apply, just volunteer your time to go in and learn about a set and see how that rolls, because it really helped with myself.
Yeah, learning by doing. Absolutely.
But throw yourself into the deep end.
Yeah. Like the business, I mean, I don't know about you, Codie, tell me if you got this, but like things about like, how do you choose an agent? What are some questions? What are some like important things to ask an agent or a manager? What's a healthy relationship with an agent? Where, why is it important for you to book out and let them know where you are, and where are your sort of lines? Why you need to not be afraid of your agent, but have open dialogue, and don't be afraid to ask for this. Know what your contract is, like that kind of stuff. I'm saying, like, I never learned about any of that. That's stuff I had to learn.
I feel like I learned that kind of myself.
Yeah.
I know there was classes. I did do a couple, actually, I will say I did a couple of webinars on booking an agent, and I feel like Casting Workbook always have stuff about it, and it's getting there slowly but surely, but it still isn't like completely. I feel like, yeah, there could be more of like a class on it, like, in schools as well as outside of that with different like acting companies, like, yeah, putting out classes instead of just like one class of a webinar, or 1 hour, sorry, of a webinar, because yeah, I did a bit of research of what I could do, and the majority of it, like, I was just learning through myself, like speaking to people, like, well, what is it, your relationship like with your agent, is it comfortable? And then for me, I kind of slowly realized what I wanted, being like, okay, I want an agent, yeah, like you said, that I can speak with, and I'm not afraid to ask a question to be like, okay, is this what they're specifically asking for? Or can I be a bit more creative in this end? I think for me anyway, I want someone that I connect with as well, that I know is there and they're looking out for me as well as me like looking out for them. We're in this together. And that was just something I had to learn myself by like asking and just completely just bombarding people, being like, can I just ask you a question? Like, how's your agent? Like, what do you guys do? And yeah, that was it, just kind of self-taught at the same time. So there could be a bit more of it. I think it's starting, but there could be just more.
Like how to be a CEO of your own company. Like you are the product, you are the thing, and you're building a team surrounding like your own product. And so how do you be the CEO of that company in a non like, it's scary, it's you. And so you're vulnerable, but you need to really be able to treat it like this is a company and I need to like run this company.
It's true, actually, yeah. And that's what I was told, I think, by one of my acting coaches when I was applying for agency, was like, you want someone that wants to work with you, but also you have to want to work with them. Don't just get an agent because you feel like that's what you need to do right now. It's like, wait for the right one, because you also want to have that ability to be able to talk to them and not afraid, like you said. It's like, don't just book the first agent that says yes to you just because you think, okay, that's what I need in my career right now. I need an agent to keep going. Is like, make sure it's the right one that feels like a fit for you. Because like you said, you're the CEO of your business. You're the actress as well that's putting yourself out there. And you want someone that understands you and your personality and is there to help you as a person.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And that took, again, for me too, it took me a long time to learn that, like on the ground in awkward way. But now I have two amazing agents that like, I love sitting down with them for a meal. I love talking business with both of them. I'm like, I'm so lucky. I'm so fortunate that I have a team that I love, but it took me a long time to like figure out what that meant and how to have that.
Okay. How do you think the role of importance of critiques and film critiques will change in the digital area in which basically everyone can be a reviewer now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Like we said, online, there's so much now, like of people putting their opinions out there. And sometimes, yes, they're not the nicest. And don't get me wrong, everyone's entitled to their view and their points. But I still think that it really goes to show, like when you look at the Critics' Choice Awards, like award season recently, and some of the winners, I'm just like, wow, like, yeah, what they did was amazing and they really deserve that. And it's great to see some up and coming talent in there as well. I think like, it must be hard for a lot of like actors and actresses too to just like shut that hate out, because at the end of the day, you're always going to create and not everyone might like it or what you have to say or what you've like told in the story, and people will always have their opinions and views. But I think it's important to have like the critics out there that really know how to also say it in a way that's not going to like really hurt somebody as well. I always, like, my mom always told me as a kid growing up, if you don't have something nice to say, then don't say anything at all. And I'm like, okay, I get that in perspective, but I also will stand up for myself. So I think what people just need to realize is you can say stuff, but there's just a nice way to maybe say it, or a nicer way. And I think critics will always know how to kind of do that when it comes to critiquing movies and shows. And maybe like a lot of people on the online world just kind of get really super keyboard happy, and they're just like, okay, this is what I'm going to say. So I think it's important to like still keep it going and just really have those people that understand the industry as well.
I totally agree. I think we as consumers, as people looking at critics, need to become more savvy with like the voices that we trust, with like understanding what's news and what's fake. And I think, you know, it's like everybody has we live in an era where everybody has access to a platform and everyone can be a critic, and that's fine, and there's space for that. But I think we need to kind of be more discerning with certainly as artists. I mean, the voices that you let in versus what you kind of are able to filter out.
Yeah.
Because while, yeah, everyone deserves a voice, like I don't need to listen to everybody's voice.
No, it's very true. Like I've actually gone through that myself as a dancer, as a competitive dancer. I've gone through people at a very young age, like 11, 12 years of age, saying mean things on platforms about me that, my mom tried and my dad tried to really just hide me from. But as well, when I have that accessibility with a phone, I can see that. And it's made me, I think, in this industry now with acting, really just understand what I can read and just be like, no, I know what I did at the end of the day. Or even when it comes to auditions and maybe not booking the role, even though I give it my best, being like, you know what? I tried my best. It might not be what they're looking for, and that's just okay.
Yeah.
Fine. That's essentially acting. That's just what it is.
Yeah, you have to define success for yourself in this industry, and you have to, because oftentimes you don't get the role, and it's like, okay, for me, I'm like, okay, did I show up and bring my best self to this character and do the work and deliver my best version? If the answer is yes, then I need to like mark that in my calendar as a success. The role is going to go to who it goes to. That's like beyond my control. That's, it's that outside thing. Whereas internally, I can feel really good about what I did if I do X, Y, and Z, which I've defined for myself.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, it's very true.
I love it. Yes. And then you know what? My final question. So we can all relax after a couple of, difficult questions. Super easy going. Here it is. What do you think that could be the best title for this episode?
I don't know, Dan. You always, when you ask this, I'm like, I don't know. Because you don't know how it's going to go. And then, I don't know, it was definitely.
I got one.
Oh.
Shoot it.
Dancing and discernment.
Ooh.
Because you're a dancer.
I love that. See, you're the writer. You got this.
Dancing and discernment. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you have one?
Yeah, Dan, do you have one? Because I don't.
No. No, I don't. I think that one is a good one. Yeah, I think that's winner. Sounds interesting. It has like
reading, when you read that title, I'd be like, oh, what's that mean? Let's see.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it has this like their secret on it. Yeah, I like it.
It's like the freedom of the dancing, but like the rigidity of discernment. It's like those two dualities that we need in order to be an artist. You need to be able to like dance and be free and create, but you also need those boundaries, baby.
That is true. Yeah, I like it.
So we have a winner then.
Ding ding ding.
There you go. I mean, at the end, what can I say, guys? I mean, it's incredible what you guys do. I love it. I mean, it's impossible not to feel inspired, like on whatever you're doing. Like I mean, I've said this before that every now and then, whenever I have like those days of quitting, which we all have, I will just check on Instagram, check on their stories, and sometimes I will see something that for someone that I interview who's creating something or doing something, be like, hey, if they're doing it, I can keep going as well. So I think that is really cool, and it's important, and you guys are making it happen. And I think that's proof enough, as I said before, to everyone to show that, hey, if you want to be either in acting, music, writing, producing, all of that, you can make it happen. And we have you guys who are showing us that at the end of the day it is possible. So that's badass. There you go. And I also want to thank those who stayed the whole episode. Thank you so much. Now, as I said in the beginning, on the description below, you're gonna find all of Codie, Meghan social media. Let's follow them. Let's make them viral. And most important, also, you're gonna find their previous episodes, so you can see, so you can find out why they're super badass. And again, guys, thank you so much for making this happen. Keep killing it out there. Keep rocking. Keep shining. And I'll see you in the next one.